Great. So I am very happy to be here with all of you, and it was great knowing about you. I am Dr. H.O. Srivastav, and as you already know that I am a former Additional Director General of All India Radio and Doordarshan in Government of India. Um, Now it is India. Good afternoon. So good afternoon India time. And it is a great honor to deliver this lecture in this international webinar series of e-lectures on, on the topic role of community radio in community empowerment and rural development, which is being organized by ALDO.
Role of in community area.
Yes, yes. Now, community radio, it plays a very significant role at the grassroots level for rural development. For example, it can address the issues of poverty, gender inequality, education, social problems, among others. The great advantage is you can address your community in your own language, and it can be received on a receiver which may cost just $1. It provides participatory communication techniques that supports agriculture extension. I just saw my friend from Pakistan who are working in agriculture, and it's a great tool for them so that you can communicate directly with farmers and listeners groups. We will show in this presentation a few innovative uses which has resulted in significant impact in the areas of farming and education, addressing directly SDG 2030. All my friends must be knowing that Sustainable Development Goal 2030 is certain goals which we are supposed to attain by 2030, which addresses removal of poverty, removal of hunger from the globe, maintaining the climate, and so on and so forth. So most of the goals can be addressed by using community radio, because the first requirement is people must know what is SDG 2030 and what are its goals and what can they do really. Now we all know broadcast and ICT, they are shaping the economy and society today. Again, I will restrict myself today to broadcasting and especially community radio. When we talk of broadcasting, it can be categorized into public service broadcasting, just like the Doordarshan that we have in India, or BBC, where I worked for 37 years, and it is mostly a state-controlled or state-funded broadcasting system. Then there are commercial or private broadcasting, which are the business enterprises, and the frequencies are auctioned by the government and purchased by private people to run their broadcasting. Now today we are going to discuss about the community broadcasting. Community broadcasting is done through community radios, and in India and many of the places in the world, the licenses are given free to non-profit organizations, NGOs, and universities, colleges, etc. The community radio is supposed to provide voice to voiceless. Now, some of the salient features of the community radio are conviviality and culture. Conviviality stands for friendliness. So it is a radio which acts as your friend. And it can address many of the issues as I discussed earlier: education, strong democracy, health and well-being, economic equity, opportunity, and sustainability. And it's an ideal framework for community development. We will see in the next slide that if we go little into the history of the broadcasting, community radio broadcasting, then we can divide the era in 4 categories. 1900 to 1940, that was experimental era. 1950 to 1960, that was wildfire era. 1970 to 1980, the solitary era. And 1990s to today is the insurgence era. 1900 to 1940 was the era where people started experimenting with community radio. It was not licensed. People just started establishing some community radio without any license, and they started experimenting how can they address certain issues. Next era was 1950 to 1960, which we called a wildfire era, where many people across the world established community radio, still without license, and it was to address to the farmers or coal miners, and they also call it a pirate radio. Then government started recognizing the potential of the community radio, and in 1970 to 1980, most of the countries in the world started making the licenses, providing the licenses, regulating it, and almost all the countries in the world started establishing community radio for addressing local people. And right from Canada to America to US to Japan, a lot of places the community radio is established. And as of now, almost all the countries, they are having stations, the community radio station. There are regulations that has developed in most of the countries of the world. And there are a number of associations which have been formed to address the issues of community radio together about licensing and its establishment. Now,
Sir, everything is okay? Hello?
No voice, please. No voice.
Hello, Dr. Srivastava?
is there a problem with the voice?
Yeah,
Yeah, now it is okay. Now it is okay. We can hear.
All right. So what I was trying to show in this figure, how we got in India the regulation for the community radio. And I was pivotal in getting the license, which was initiated by Madam Sushma Swaraj, who was our Minister of Information Broadcasting, and Shri Anil Bajal, who additional secretary of Ministry of INB at that time. And what happened is she wanted that, okay, can we have community radio in this country? How many and how? And then the entire plan was done by me, making what we call as a lattice plan, where I wrote how many community radio stations can be established in India. And at that time, we worked out about 4,000 to 5,000 community radios. What should be the power? What should be the technology to be used? And whom it should be given. So in India, we got the regulation in December 2002, which permits NGOs and universities, colleges, educational institutes, and Krishi Vikas Kendra, which are the science units, they can establish community radio in the country. Now, here I am showing a bit of community radio station, a diagram, and you will find that in a community radio station, it's a very simple system. We are having a small production studio. This has been taken from a real community radio station, which was established in one of the agriculture universities in Haryana by us, and it was inaugurated by Honorable Chief Minister at that time, Shri Huda. So one small studio, which is known as a production studio, and in this production studio, people can sit, they can discuss, they can talk, they can play music, they can have all sort of discussions about farming, agriculture, advice, etc. And then there is another studio known as recording cum transmission studio. So here it is recorded and either stored for future transmission, or if you want to do a live broadcasting, then you can put it to transmitter and then to a tower and antenna, and then it can be received on any small radio, including the mobile phones, which normally has FM broadcasting provisions. Now, it depends upon the countries how much power they want to give to the community radio, because these licenses are free. And in India, we decided to give a power of 50 watt only, and we also restricted the tower height to 30 meters. So with 50 watt transmitter and 30 watt meter height of the tower, we can cover about 10 to 15 kilometer radial area from the place where we establish it. Unfortunately, in India also, we have not gone very fast with the community radio stations, and about 700 licenses have so far been granted in the country, and they have either been established or they are in the process of establishment. However, we are trying to establish more number of community radio stations in the country so that it is used for socio-economic development of the people, especially in rural areas and remote areas. This is a small technology, so it's never a very tough one. You have some mixer, and then we have some PC where you record it, and then you can store it or broadcast it using some software that is known as radio broadcasting system. A good feature is that you can connect a telephone where you can make it interactive. Your listeners can ask questions and you can reply to it. So this way there can be direct interaction between the broadcaster and the listener. After we established in the initial days a few community radio stations, Our Ministry of Communication and IT, they funded establishment of 5 radio stations in 5 state agricultural universities in different linguistic regions to see the impact of the community radio on farming community. This work was taken by World Development Foundation, and 5 radio stations were established. One is what we showed in the last slide, that is in Hisar Agriculture University, Haryana, which was inaugurated by CM there. The second was done in Chhattisgarh. You can see that again here, the Chief Minister is inaugurating the community radio stations. Then third was done in UP, again State Agriculture University. Fourth was done in Agriculture University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. And fifth was done in Ranchi. So 5 community radio stations were established in 5 community regions. Certain programs was developed, people were trained, and then the technology of farming that was disseminated using the community radio stations. And after 1 year, a survey was done to know the impact of these community radio stations. And we found that it had great impact on the farming community. They started adopting some new technology. They started using new type of seeds and fertilizers, going to organic farming, etc. And then we went to Ministry of Agriculture in Government of India. And Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, they agreed to fund any community radio station which is done for farming purposes by Krishi Vikas Kendras or agriculture universities. And it is an approved scheme of Government of India, and it is funded by Government of India for farming communities. Another one, we tried to do it something outside from India, and we established 7 community radio stations in 7 corners of Ethiopia. You see the places, all corners of Ethiopia, not in Addis Ababa. And it was done for socio-economic development and also educating the people in certain areas of health, hygiene, including farming. They allowed us to establish community radio stations using 700 watt of power, and which was covering about 50 kilometer radial area, because the topology was also good in Ethiopia. So all these places we established. And there was a great impact. And recently they have written a paper in academia, and they are telling that the community radio station is working for the last 5 years, and it is having great impact on the people and on the places where they have been established. In fact, when we established, and I was traveling to Finote Salem from Addis Ababa, and a lot of people from Ministry of Communication and IT and other people were traveling with me. And when we reached just near the place Finote Salem, 50 kilometers away, and then we started getting the signal. People were so excited. They came out of the car, they started dancing. They were so happy that, okay, they're having a channel for communication. And I visited this place. This lady was the administrator there, and she promised that, okay, we will take it up and do it. 7 community radio stations were established within a period of 2 months after receipt of the equipment. And This is the appreciation which came from ambassador in Ethiopia about these community radio stations. We also established some community radio stations in Nepal, very few. The power is still higher, about 3 kilowatt over there. Now, community radio station technology is very simple. You have to have one small studio with a little treatment, if you can afford it, and simple equipment with a tower and transmitter. It can be done. What is more important is to create compelling content for the community radio station. And all of you who listen to radio station know that a radio station is having something known as signature tune, which is the identity of the community radio station. You also have a cue sheet, which is a time schedule, of each and every program. Then it is a tool which you can use for social development. You can use it for livelihood generation, self-employment. You can use it for farming and agriculture or any allied field, animal husbandry. You can also let people know their rights and privileges and maybe duties also. You can have women programs. Lot of employment was generated in UP by giving some programs to women farmers in making pickles and how to market it. You can have question and answer sessions. You can do it at health and hygiene. The students can also use for career guidance. You can teach them what is democracy. And as I always talk, that SDG 2030 can remain only a distant dream. Who knows about SDG 2030, especially in the remote corners in many countries of the world? So unless it is funded from some agencies, including government, and people know about it and know small steps to do to maintain climate, to use organic food, to use less water. So unless they are trained and their attitude is changed towards the climate, towards maintaining hygiene, health, etc., SDG 2030 will not be possible to be achieved. So this is one step to go ahead. When we create content, it has to be not only done by experts, but the local people and farmers must participate. This is why we call it a participatory communication. They should come, they should talk to the other people. And some of the things, if you will find that, you see the first diagram where a honey seller with 30 years working in the field was called in Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, and she was able to narrate what she is doing it, and then universities could tell what better she could do it and where can she get market for selling it. So such type of programs can be done. You will find here the village development programs has been done. Here the administrative people, they are being called in the studio and they are being confronted with the issues being faced by many of the citizens of the place, and they have to reply it. So it's a great way of creating two-way communication in fixing responsibility in training. So content is a very important thing, and it has to be part and parcel of the community radio. You can see that, and as I told that, content has to be in the field, not sitting in the studios. So you can see the World Development Foundation producer going and talking to the cobbler. What can he do? What can be done? His story, can it be broadcast? Here they are doing with the women farmers. This is again with the farmers, women farmers. So it has to be done. And this type of content has to be in the local language, most probably with the local people. And then if you go on putting this content slowly with their involvement, then you are going to make a real impact on the community radio. I have given a link here, http://www.org/radio.stm, where we have put some contents which has been done in different linguistic regions in different languages, and you can just see what type of content can be done on farming, on health and hygiene, on tourism, and so many issues that people confront and they can't approach anywhere for the knowledge. Training of personnel for operation and management of community radio is also a very important part of community radio. And when we do it, this was the training which I done very recently for the people who came from one of the university. I will just in the next slide, I will touch how the community radio reach can be extended if universities are involved. And they have to know about the presentation skills, what are the broadcast code and policy, how to make recording, editing, storage, archiving, how to make a playlist, how to schedule it, how they can broadcast it. Also a little about maintenance of hardware and software. They have to also know about online broadcasting, which I will talk a little later in the next slide perhaps. And if they are going to do online broadcasting, then how can they upload the audios to the server, a bit of coding about the playback, what is on-demand, cloud radio and streaming. Cloud radio is something that has been developed by us, which allows your entire university premises to receive the content without internet. Then mobile application, mobile is so common, so there must be that video allows you to broadcast to an area of about 10 to 15 kilometers in a place like India. In many countries where hard transmitters can be allowed, as I talked about Ethiopia, then of course it can go about 50 kilometers or so. Is it possible to extend it? Yes. If here is a university, it is possible to create a local cloud and all the people will get the content on their mobile without using internet. You can also connect it to, of course, internet, and therefore you can do broadcast through internet and it can go through the world, which can be received on any digital receiving device. And this type of concept we recently used for one of the university. This is Cooch Behar Panchanan Burma University in West Bengal. Now, this was a system which we developed over the community radio, especially keeping in view the problems of COVID, because the classes were suspended in the university and people were not able to attend the classes. So what we did is we have a normal community radio, of course, with the tower and like that. So 10 to 15 kilometer coverage. The entire university premises was made Wi-Fi so that you don't have to bring all the students into the class because you will not be able to provide enough space and still provide isolation. Therefore, they can be anywhere in the university, they can be in anywhere in any class, or in the hall or even in the field, and they can receive the lecture on demand or also streaming lectures. Now, we are having 3-tier: cloud radio, community radio, internet radio. Now, these lectures can be received using a mobile phone, cloud radio using Wi-Fi, and of course, internet radio using normal IP services. The other advantage is that using internet radio, we covered their 15 colleges. The university has got 15 affiliated colleges. So whatever you are teaching from here, now any student, irrespective of the location of the college, is able to get your streaming lecture on his mobile phone, even sitting from his house. That is a great advancement. And all the 15 colleges don't have to deliver lecture separately. If the subject is same and the class is same, lecture at one place can cover all the places. There is interactivity also using WhatsApp. So apart from telephone, which provides phone-in interactivity, for community radio, you can have WhatsApp messages can be given, and the professor can respond immediately or later on or by writing through WhatsApp chat, whatsoever he wants it. So this is an extension of the community radio where you are covering all your colleges, all your students, and they are able to get it from anywhere in the world. And we call it hybrid radio-based solution for education. And this is the picture of some of audio video studios and the media production center. This can be everybody doesn't need to have all these solution, but if you show it here, this is called sound lock, because you have a beautiful sound lock. You can enter here to the production studio or the other studio. So this is one facility which is used. These are two audio studios. One was done in Rajkot and the other was done in I think Gangtok. So two audio studios. The media production center is used if you are a bigger university and you want to make some video production also. Then you are having a camera, 3-camera studio, and then the production control room and edit room and like that. So this type of thing was also done for agriculture knowledge dissemination system in Bihar state, and it was got done for government of Bihar. And then, of course, as we do a lot of national international seminar workshops like this are great help for not only propagating and talking about certain problems and the solution that can be done, but also about the SDG 2030. And I say that the main components of SDG 2030 is education and agriculture. In fact, we had one with Secretary General Aldo presiding here very recently before the lockdown. So this is the footprint of some of the places that we put community radio stations and which have put a great impact on the people and socio-economic development. Most of the countries in the world, as on date, are having their rules and regulations, but if some country doesn't have the rules and regulation, then WDF and ALDO can help them in establishing the rules and regulations for that country. WDF and ALDO can also help if you want to get consultancy or establish community radio stations our media production centers, then we can help you in establishing it, as we did for Ethiopia, and provide you the knowledge about it. Community radio doesn't cost much. It can be very economical, as well as it can be more complex, as I showed it for the university. And it depends upon the needs, how many you are going to put it, what is the rules and regulation of the country, and how you want to cover, what is the footprint that you want for the people, and in which locations. So this is basically about the community radio. I have not gone to get a depth of technology, because I thought to give you a good glimpse of what community radio can do. And especially in those areas which are unapproachable, where papers are not available, where other type of media is not available, where print is not there. The commercial people will never go there. Community radio is tool, because you get the licenses almost free. So this was the presentation which I wanted to talk to you, and I'll be very happy to have your questions on the community radio or related issues. And so I am cutting the sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Srivastava, for a very thoughtful presentation. And in your presentation, you have covered the history, various types of the community radios, the success story of the agriculture community stations. Then you also focus on the content, that how the content is to be developed. And in any participatory development, community participation is very important. So these community radio stations, they are also involving the community participation. So you see the both way, community versus the decision maker. So very nice presentation, and you also spoke about the cost, that is not related to equipment, but again depend on the country policy, and the policy may differ from country to country. The maybe other member country may consider about the relevance and significance of the community radio, the response to utilization, especially in agriculture, extension services, agriculture marketing, health, sanitation, education. These are the areas where we can really utilize the services of the community radios. Now, I just open for the question and answer. If the participants have questions, please raise your question one by one. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dr. Baldev Singh Negi from Himachal Pradesh. I am here at the Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, as faculty of rural development, sir. So I just want to thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. I was just looking, I was just curious to know about this community radios implementation and benefits. So you have very wonderfully explained. But just I have one question, that how is the total cost of this community radio if we are willing to establish it in the remote area at covering at least at 5 kilometer area or radius? So how will be the cost, sir? Tentative cost, sir. Since I am also associated with All India Radio at Shimla, because I am giving programs in local dialects since last 2009 in one of the dialects, along with my professional work at Himachal Pradesh University. But still, I was asking many of people, but they were not able to give me answer that how will remain the cost of this community radio. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Great to know. See, if you want to have just a small community radio, as I told that really it requires to know your requirements. if you want to have a small community radio station cover an area of about 5 to 10 kilometers, then the cost will be about 25 to 30 lakhs. Okay. Because, some small studios because you are a university, you will not like to have just untreated room where we put the equipment, we can do it. It can go even down depending upon what you really want. So once, you come to the layer we discuss, either in Aldo office or WDF office, we can work out the real cost. And what happens is, when I discuss with you, I also discuss that supposing if I tell that, okay, this is about 30 lakhs, and you say that I don't want UPS, I already having it, or I don't want a PC, it is already available to that. So once we discuss it, we will see what are the things we can cut down. So many places, people don't need UPS, they are having a stable power supply, many people UPS will be a must, many people will need diesel generator, many people will not need diesel generator, depending on the power supply. PCs you may need, or you are already having in the lab, so we will cut down. So depending upon that, we can discuss what is the cost. And I always tell that it can be tailored to your budget. Whatsoever you want, it can be done it. And you can start it immediately if you want, as I was telling, cloud radio or internet radio, straight away. For community radio license, it takes some time. You have to go to government and get the license. And some time it may take, but we can work out on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
One community radio for a radius of 5 kilometers will cost about 20 to 25 lakh rupees. So for the convenience of the international participant, it comes around $30,000 US.
Yes.
Yeah, approximately $30,000 US. So this is the small amount they can consider. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Next question, please.
Yes, Doctor, there is one question from Dr. Sabina Fatima. She wanted to know how that we can assess the impact of this community radio, especially with the reference to agriculture.
Yes. What we do is really, we have two surveys. One survey is done initially. And especially when in case of agriculture, already if you are an agriculture university or a agriculture science college or something, you know about the farmers, what technology they are using right now, what are their problems. And then some of the things we start creating, programs and telling them that, okay, you are doing this type of, vegetable this year, and you could not market. So you can tell that you come up with this vegetable, you use this type of fertilizer, you can get this loan from here. And after that, you again have 2 or 3 surveys afterwards. Whether people have adopted it, has their revenue increased, has their profit increased. Unless this impact is judged, absolutely it will become ineffective. So it's not that you just install community radio station, hardware has been put and content has been done, it is over. No. And this is why in India, government of India, Ministry of Agriculture, they fund the entire scheme. They say that you install the community radio. They also say that you create the content. They say that you have 2 impact analysis after 1 year and 2 years, and show that how it has improved the way farming was done earlier and now. Has the yield increased? If we are not able to show that yield has increased, or the milk production has increased, or they are able to get access to the banking or marketing services, then absolutely there is no impact. So at least a sample will have to be surveyed before the installation of the community radio and at the end of the project, say after 6 months, after 1 year, and once you found the impact is there. And when we did the survey, and we do all the times, When we did the survey, we find that yes, there is an impact. And once people, people are always interested in getting profit. If he is able to earn more food, increase the yield, and increases production, then definitely we'll be using the technology. They are very sensitive to adopting the technology. In fact, what they do is, when you are having the phone-in program in the community radio, in the morning they start ringing that my plant has got disease, what should I do? And as a scientist, this is why they have allowed this only in agriculture universities and agriculture science centers. So as a scientist, he says that, look here, this is a problem, tell me what to do. And you, he comes after 2 weeks, he starts abusing you, that it has not helped it. And I have seen this thing happening. He comes and says, it has not happened. Give me the solution. So the other people also becomes very conscious. When I am talking from here, I must know my thing, otherwise I will not be able to do it. So that creates, the impact both ways. Even the teacher, the scientist, the lecturer, they have to study, they have to do the solution. So this type of thing has to be done. This is the impact analysis we did on the 5 universities and put to Government of India. And this is why they do a funding of 65 lakhs per community radio station, Government of India.
Thanks.
Next question, please.
Question? वहाँ तो है नहीं तो Dr. Kamal Dubey this side from Ardo Secretariat. May I have one question, sir? My voice is audible, sir?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sir. That you just talked about the cost of that infrastructure, the installation of the radio. That it will be cost about 24 to 25 lakh rupees for 5 kilometers. Once we get the success on the 5 kilometer, and we want to expand that to next 5 kilometers, so how that cost will be varies on that one, because we install the infrastructure and we got that 5 kilometers got success. Then after that, we want to expand for another 5 kilometers.
Actually, we don't, tell you to go for 5 kilometers, because Government of India, as per the present regulation, gives you a sanction for 50 watt power and 30 meter tower. Okay. And they also give the sanction for 24 hours. Many people say, I want only for 6 hours of broadcast. Take the sanction for 24 hours. You can extend it tomorrow. So number one is, when we go for sanction, we'll be getting for the full power, 50 watt. And then we will be doing it for 30 meter tower. We will also not tell you that you put a 15 meter tower and then again extend 15 meter more.
Right.
There is no use of doing it. It will save you 3 lakhs, then 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs you will save, and again power is standard power which is manufactured in this country. If you want to have lower distance, means I reduce the power either by reducing the height of the tower or by reducing the power of the transmitter by losing the power. So what we recommended, you go for 10 to 15 kilometers, it will cost the same thing. Don't come after 1 year or 6 months. You are getting it, and they have already done, they have not become very liberal, because I made the entire licenses for that, and the power I decided it. We wanted to put 5,000 community radio stations. So I saw that if I put a 50 watt transmitter here, then I have to give to another person. So you are getting for 10 to 15 kilometers, take for 10 to 15 kilometers. There is no point that I reduce 2 lakhs and then again after 5 months or 6 months you increase it, and that is not beneficial to it. So I did not tell him this thing, but generally the sanction, you take the whole one. If you want it, okay, have a lower tower and then increase it. So it will increase 1 or 2 lakhs rupees, that's all.
Thank you, Doctor. There is one more question in the chat box.
They wanted to
Yes.
know that what are the security aspects of transmission? Can a third party interface or change the content of the info being transmitted?
You see, there are two types of security. One is the physical security of the transmitter. Like a transmitter should not go to unwanted people.
Right.
So when you apply for a license, it goes to Home Ministry and they check the place. So, you know, earlier they were not giving to the places where the areas was Naxal areas or like that. So it has to be cleared by Home Ministry. Then only the license is given. That and physical security you have to keep in the law. So that is the physical security. As far as content is concerned, there is known as a broadcast policy. In fact, it is called All India Radio Code. The code says when you will get the license, there will be a memorandum of understanding between the parties concerned, means Government of India and say Himachal Pradesh if they want to take this license. So there will be MOU. And in that they will write that you will not use this community radio station for any broadcast will be against the interest of the government and interest of the country. That's all. You will not be using it anything which will spoil the relation with a neighboring country. So those sort of things you assign. Only you have to follow that. That's all. In forming content, whether Ardo makes and gives it, or WDF makes and gives it, or he gets from a neighbor, it is up to him. In fact, it is always participatory. You have to call a farmer from the field, ask her or him to sit in the studio, tell the story, and then let people learn from it. Okay, so content, no restriction, except if the content is abusive, they don't allow you to advertise wine or something like that. So some code of conduct.
There is one more question, that is, what about the recurring cost to NGO? How to earn for community radio to run?
Yes. This was a problem which was faced by many of the NGOs when it was done. And now 2 channels have been allowed in India. One channel is that people can have advertisement for 6 minutes per hour of content. So every hour of broadcast, they will have 6 minutes of advertisement. They can get advertisement on anything. If they are, for university, they can get for book or anybody. And if they are for farming community, they can have on seed, fertilizer, bag, this and that. So they can collect advertisement on their own. But we found that it was not enough. So Government of India has also allowed government advertisement compulsorily to be given to community radio stations so that they earn some money for its recurring expenses.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, there is one question from the Techno Camon.
Yes.
Sir, you can ask the question now. Hello. Yes, sir, you can ask the question now.
Okay, could you please ask the question? I think. Can you listen to the voice, Techno Camon?
You can put on chat if you want.
Okay. Next question. Okay, any other participants may wish to ask any questions, observations, informations? Any participant? Okay, if not, then Professor Srivastava, I have one small curiosity to ask one question, sir. Now, in the age of internet, when we see the proliferation of information technology all over servers, even to the remotest area, I just wonder at my level, how do we see the role of community radio as an instrument to spread information vis-a-vis in relation to the internet, which is already proliferated. Lots of people having these gadgets of cellular mobile phones in their hands also.
You know, any radio stations, you know, or any channel that you are creating, you have to create your audience. And that audience comes because of the type of the program, and you are able to let people know.
Yes, Professor.
She's not able to listen. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you know, so as far as local people are concerned, community radio 10 to 15 kilometers, our cloud radio, that is your captive audience. So people will know it. And that's why you see that when we inaugurated the community radio station, we always called governor, we called, you know, chief minister, so that there is a knowledge about it in paper, in media, in other things. So it will happen. For university, you are already having a captive audience of the students. For internet radio, of course, there is also, they are creating a channel where you get a globe, and on that you put your community radio and it will come. So slowly, of course, you will have to address the audiences and they have to know about it. And if they know, they will come to your radio station. There was one question from Dr. Hasina, that is agriculture scientists community radio play an important role in farmers' awareness regarding burning issues. Of course, yes. You know, in fact, many places it is called farm radio. And farm radio is because, you know, lot of things can be addressed. Lot of people depend on the farming, especially in our countries. And if you are able to address the farmers, they are the most poor people, and they are the people who have to produce enough food for all of us. So it is very important if you put in the villages where the farming community is there and you are putting relevant content, it is a wonderful thing to do it.
So Mr. Ahmed Al-Lawi also raised the hand. Mr. Ahmed, that you can ask the question. Could you please?
Mr. Ahmed.
Mr. Ahmed Al-Lawi.
Can ask the question, please? Mr. Ahmed.
This question?
Okay, I think it,
Do you hear me, sir?
Yeah,
yes,
it's
yes,
audible.
yes.
It is.
Firstly, I want to thank Doctor for a nice presentation and very informative. A local community radio. First, I want, as you know, in Egypt, many oases and many different regions in north and east who have many native languages. Are you see if the community radio can connect it easily with a native language, and this is different from common radio stations? And the second, how the cost of establish community radio stations for about 30 kilometers?
Yes, thank you. I am not aware whether you have in Egypt you have got the regulation and your rules what they allow. So I will have to check whether a regulation has been established for in your place, Egypt, and what the regulation allows. For example, as I told, in Ethiopia, they have allowed the power of about 700 watt, which covers about 50 kilometers. So coverage depends upon the power of the transmitter, the height of the tower, and also your topology. If you are plain field, it will go a longer distance. If you are having a hilly area, then hill can block it. Or if you are having a very high-rise buildings, of course, it may not be there. So all these factors are there. So generally, a survey helps you. where this is why I told that we can help with the help of Ardo. We can come and we can tell you what is the right type of power that you use for the community that you want to serve.
Please, if you can contact with us.
You can contact with Dr. H.O. Shrivastava. I think my address was there, but if you want to write, I will write it here. Just write it.
Okay, thanks.
My name. I will give my address. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. At gmail.com.
Dear participant, just for the information, that Ardo has different activities. And one of the important activities, financing of the development project. So if any participant feels the need that they need some support, technical or in the sense of services of the expert, so they can write through their government to Ardo. And Ardo will be very happy to provide the services of some experts or technical support for the implementation of the project. Of course, these projects are on the co-financing basis. It has to be, cost is to be shared between the Ardo, government, and sometimes community also. So that formula we can work out, but initially you can send the proposal to Ardo. Thank you. If any more question, please. If no question, yes, please.
Yeah. I think Dr. Hasina Gul is having one question. So, ma'am, you are welcome. Yeah, please.
Is there any facility or any opportunity with you people to that we visit to India and to practically see all these radio, community radio installation, community radios, practical rooms and practical development?
Yes, madam. Yes,
Right. As far as
Exposure, I mean, exposure visit. Any exposure visit you want to be conducted for we people to visit there and to see all these.
Professor, are you responding or shall I?
see, I am responding to the question, saying that if their government or they themselves are out of finances their visit, we can allow here to see the studios. We can also train them for 1 or 2 days to make how the studio operates and how it works. And we do regular trainings also, so we can include them in some training also.
Just to add to Professor response, Ardo also have a program, study visit program for the member countries. So study visit program from one member country to another can be organized on the request of the member country. So in case your government is interested for the visit, exposure visit, it can be done once the international flight is resumed and the things become normalized. So kindly do write to Ardo and we will be very happy to receive and to consider them. Thank you.
Okay, with this, I think we are approaching the time limit. And unless there are some more questions, I request either we can write to the Ardo Secretariat or we can write to Professor Shrivastava also. He shared his email ID. And before we conclude, I wish to express my sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Hariom Shrivastava, who has been kind enough to give a very excellent presentation on community radio with his diversified experience of more than 50 years into this area also. So thank you very much, sir, for answering all the questions and giving a very good panorama of the community radio, starting with the beginning of the history to the current status also. So with this also, I thank all my dear participants who have also spent their times with us to be with Professor Shrivastava, listening his presentation as well as raising interesting queries, questions, observations also. At the same time, Ardo thanks the member countries who have sponsored the participants to attend this e-lecture series also. And I also thank my dear colleagues at the ADO Secretariat under the guidance of His Excellency Secretary Dr. Madhavendra Singh for doing this all excellent arrangements, conducting this similar session also. And I do request you to kindly write to us at the ADO Secretariat in case of any further informations on community radio or any other aspects or any other kind of activities you are interested to attend. And with this, thank you very much to all and have a nice day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.